What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 11. Probably should have looked at that before. Episode 11 of Meet the Critters. We have a super awesome episode tonight. We have Brian Aleksivich from the Lots Project on, and we're going to chat about his poultry industry that he basically had. He was doing a lot of stuff up there. So we're going to get into that. Just airing out some laundry before we get going on this. Bunch of stuff happening over here. I'm sure most of the people watching do follow my YouTube or are in the Telegram chats. We unfortunately had to put our boar down. It went quick. It was about a day and a half, 2 days. We did a necropsy on him after the fact, and he was impacted and it was full of infection. And it sucks, but part of farming. So I see a bunch of rips in yours in there, so that's great. So now that we're done with that, we're going to have a super fun episode. So let's go ahead and bring Brian up. There he is. What's going on, Brian?
What's going on, man? How we doing?
Good. Now that we're not sad anymore.
Way to lead me in with, hey, we killed the pig that everybody loved. Right. So hey,
we killed the pig that we brought to at least 2 different Telegram chats, like on an emotional journey for.
Dude,
and now it's Brian.
You know, I feel really bad that you had to do that to your pig and all, but I was really hoping to see the enema video.
I know you were, and I was tossing it back and forth of whether or not if we were going to do it. If I was
that's not worth. That's not worth doing it for a video. Jesus, that's just
no. I was. It was never that, but it was like if we were going to do it, was I going to film it?
Oh, and fuck yeah!
And for those who aren't in the Telegram chat, there was a good hour and a half conversation on how I was going to give I'll say he was well over 400-pound boar with 6-inch cutters in his face and enema to try to get that impactment out of there when he wasn't moving fast enough to get him into the because it's one of those things. We have a kill shoot with a squeeze gate. We could have done it pretty safely there. But he wasn't moving. He was not there, and he wasn't eating, so there's no way we could bring him there.
Well, here was what I was picturing. I was picturing your wife helping you, right. You jumping on its back, her raising the hose with the 3-liter. Was that a 3-liter bottle?
It was a 2-liter. It was a 2-liter ginger ale bottle.
2-liter bottle. Dropping that 2 liters up that pig's ass, and that thing realizes what the hell's going on, so it takes off, and you're on its back riding Bronco while just a shit stream comes flying out of
it. It looks like I'm literally on a pig rocket, just propelling my shit.
You would have had the biggest viral video that, I mean...
We are 3 minutes and 30 seconds in, and we're just off it already. No, honestly, how I was planning on doing it was I knew he was still pretty sluggish and everything. I was going to get rope on his back legs, at least one rope on the front, and tie it off on both sides, me sit on his shoulder, and my wife do the dirty work. And that's when that was figuring that logistically out when I went out after the kids went to bed was when I was like, we're not even playing with this, because I literally walked up and grabbed both of his back feet and lifted them in the air, and he just went and didn't move. And I'm like, all right, we're not doing this. If I wanted to stretch it out and be like, no, I have hope, he's gonna be fine, I'm gonna put a hose in my pig's ass and we're gonna save his life. If I wanted to go that far, I would have. But I'm like, it's just going to be
stress on him, dude. And what you find out after probably just saved him some agony.
Oh my God! As soon as I cut him open, there was enough infection that it was just pouring out of him. And it was all right. And then once I finally got in there, it was this much of an impaction, and I'm like, yeah, it did not matter what we did.
You were going to need Roto-Rooter from both ends.
Exactly. And part of me is like, I should have cut that colon out and seen what it was. But then I'm like, it's 9:00 at night. Like, I get it. This is what happened. I'm going to be better next time. Like,
Can you go? Can you go check it out in the field? Maybe they ate down and left it.
no, he's way far. He's gone. He's not coming back.
Well, I didn't say he was coming back. I was gonna go see, like, you could go see if the whoever scavenged it left what was impacted.
Well, possibly. I did think about that, but I'm like, all right, where I cut was literally right where the impaction was, and that's exactly where they're going to go first for all the small tissue. So even if I went back and started digging through the pig, it's gone. And I
That'd be
don't,
so
I
fun,
don't,
though.
huh?
It'd be so fun, though.
Yeah, it's so fun just sifting through shit to see if there's a piece of tarp or something. That's what I think it was.
Tarp.
When I did a walk around, there was like, it was not tarp, but it was like the wrapped bales. It was that kind of plastic that was like buried in the ground. I didn't know it was there. So
Hard.
as soon as he started rooting around, he found it. And there was still a huge chunk. There was still a huge chunk in there, but he might have taken some in, and there we are. Sucks,
Yeah.
but
well, we didn't do pigs.
No. So what did you do? Let's no more pig enemas. Brian, what did you raise on your farm in Minnesota?
Oh man. Let's see. We had, as far as animals, we did layer chickens, we did pastured poultry, we did chickens and turkeys on pasture in a couple of different chicken tractors. We did quail, we did rabbits. We hatched out some guineas, did those for a little while. And then we attempted to hatch some peacocks and geese, but the eggs were bad. I got them in a trade for some other birds. But we did all those animals. But then on top of that, we each one of them had multiple streams of uses that we did. So you had asked if I would come on and talk about it. So I just made a big ass list of all the things we used all of those types of animals for. And whatever you want to talk about, we can roll at it.
No, definitely. And I mean, that's something I'm super jealous of you, is just the way your brain works with, it's like you look at just something, hold something up. And I have a little bit of it, but like talking with you and being friends with you for a while now, it's like you just look at something and go, all right, most people see the one thing this thing is used for. I can now see the other 6 things that we can make money on this, and we're not going to make waste. Like we're gonna pull everything out of this we can, and I appreciate it because
I mean, it just makes sense. If you're going to take the time and the money to raise the animal or the plant or whatever, you might as well get every dollar out of it, which makes your time. You're getting paid more per hour the more dollars you can put into that single animal,
right?
Or get out of it, I guess is the better term would be get out of that animal.
No, exactly. It's one of those things. If you're raising something, you got it. You have to. I mean, I see it all. That like I'm again getting it more and more now that I've been in business for myself for a while, and it's like, all right, we're investing this much money into something. Let's get a return.
Yeah. Well, money, time, energy. All of it.
Yeah. So, what do you want to start with? Because you got a list.
I don't know. The thing we started, why don't we go in order with kind of what we did? So we started with layer chickens.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody starts with
I was going to say, that's pretty much everyone's start.
We started with 15, I think it was a rainbow pack from like a hatchery, and had those for a season, and then kind of scaled up to, I think at one point we had 100 layers. We had a bunch of mixed flocks. We did everything from just selling eggs for customers, then up to having isolated breeds with like high-end breeds. We raised purebred black copper Morans and sold hatching eggs. And then if we didn't sell them as hatching eggs after a week and the fertility wasn't the greatest, we would sell those as eating eggs. So we went the full gamut of everything from, just a few chickens for some eggs and some manure to hatching our own and selling everything from chicks to full-grown chickens. And so, yeah, it was pretty crazy. Kind of spiraled. We liked chickens the most. They were the easiest to figure out. And kind of our MO, that the way we went with things is we would get some and we would figure out the routine. So like with rabbits, we got a trio. With chickens, we got 15. The quail, I think we got 50. Figured out the routine, figured out the chores, figured out the time, and then figured out how many, if we were going to do 50 because a half an hour to do everything, how many can we do in a half an hour? Is it
Right.
200? Is it 100? Is it 75? Like, what would take about the same amount of chores if we're going to do it anyway? And so we would take into account the size of the where we could put them, whether we had to expand that or what we had, and then we would just scale up to that. And we would run and try to get to a point where if we did any more, one of us would have to be on the farm full time.
Right.
So we did all this when we both had full-time jobs. So we would get to the point where it was just like, holy fuck, we can't do any more, and then scale back a little bit. And then we tried it with another enterprise. So we knew that tipping point that once one of us could quit our job, we could scale it up even more because we would actually have time to do it.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is figuring out that math of like, all right, I have X amount of time. How many animals can I fit into that? And it's such a sick, like, head game that you have to play with yourself. It's like, I don't have to do this, but how many?
Yeah. I mean, I went through all of the stuff. I mean, I optimized everything. That's kind of my deal. It's stuff I've done for work and things throughout my career, was troubleshooting and optimization of being efficient. Corey's very good at making things efficient in her work. And so when we look at a process, we do everything we can to do as little bit of work for as many animals or much return as possible. Right. So just dialing in that, it really helps you scale a little bit more. Automatic feeders, automatic waterers, things like that. And then testing them, making sure they're actually saving you time and money. We built a whole bunch of automatic feeders out of like PVC with a Y fitting, and our fucking chickens just dug the shit out. So you would put like a half a bag of feed in the thing, so it was supposed to last a few days, and you'd come down there the next afternoon and the shit is like everywhere in their litter and the thing is empty. Fuck that. Like, I went back to just giving them a scoop of food a day, and it was easier.
That's the most frustrating thing. It's like you have that moment. It's like Facebook lied to me, because it's like you see one of those like quick Facebook videos. Like, you know what? That's absolutely genius. Mine was the trampoline turkey tractor.
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
That thing is awful.
Yeah, but we also realized, and one like tip for chicken people that want to do automated feeders and all that shit, we really ended up finding that feeding them once a day didn't take that much time, but it always gave you an opportunity to go see your birds, to go get a feel for how they're doing. In Minnesota, there were very big weather extremes and things that, you wanted to keep an eye on your birds. In the winter, they might get frostbite. In the summer, they might be too hot, whatever. It's just fucking retarded in Minnesota. That's why we're not there anymore. But feeding them once a day got you in touch with the animals. And
absolutely.
I think when we automate the stuff and we don't observe them as much, we're not really interacting with the animals, making sure they're doing all right.
Yeah, no, as soon as you're not like interacting with your animals daily, that's when like things start to go haywire, because something that you could have caught that day all of a sudden now that's kind of tucked off. So now when you do go and check, it's in a spot where you're not checking anyway, and then you end up losing something. Like that's
Right.
tough.
So
Like that's a big thing.
yeah. So our kind of progression through it, like I kind of mentioned, but we got the chickens, the 15, and then I think the next time we ordered another 50 of different breeds. We figured out which ones we liked, which personalities we liked, and we kind of culled down to that. One of the things we found was an outlet for our old hens, like our retired hens. One of them was a someone making some ethnic medicine from Central America. They really liked the super fatty hens for the chicken fat, and they were making some medicine out of it. So we had an outlet for those. She just bought them. All I had to do was cull them and gut them and freeze them. And she was great with them. And they were like 3-year-old hens. Then we got really smart and started selling our 2-year-olds. So, after the second laying season going into the fall in Minnesota. So in the winter in Minnesota, you try to dial back your feed because like they don't lay. They don't lay. Well, ours did because we supplemented light. I pushed my fucking hens. They were getting fed, so they better be doing something. So we use supplemental light to make them lay. But yeah, we would call back in the winter just for chores reasons. It's fucking -30, dude.
Oh,
that's just
huge.
Stupid.
I do the same thing. Like,
and so we figured out that you can raise chicks if you get your chicks in the fall, and you have winter. You can get your chicks in the fall, and you can have them big enough to be cold hardy by the time it gets cold.
Right.
You feed a smaller bird over the winter that's not going to be laying anyway, so you don't have to give them supplemental heat. And then they start laying in the spring right when the natural light starts coming around, and right about the time they start laying, you throw them in with the ones that have the supplemental light, and boom, you have eggs right in the spring from your layers. Instead of getting chicks in the spring and feed them all summer when they should be laying, and then they go all winter and don't lay. So you fed this bird for a year or more before it lays one fucking egg. No way.
You're a smart man. I don't care what Josh says about you.
So my neighbor actually told me that. A guy down the road that we used to get pastured beef and pastured pork from told me that. I was like, dude, why you got chicks now? It was like September. He's like, dude, check this shit out. Somebody told me this, and he explained it to me, and I was like, Pooh. So the thing that spawned out of that was, so here's the deal. Here's the deal. So we'd have our layers, and we would do a batch every year.
Yep.
And we started hatching our own. So this got really cheap because we would hatch our own eggs. So we would hatch a batch to replace the ones that we were going to end up either culling, but now that they're 2 years old, I'm going to sell them in the fall because I don't have to now just keep the ones that I'm going to keep going with in the spring. Right. I take the batch that's going to get culled out. I sell them for $10 a piece, super cheap for an adult chicken that's currently laying. They are 2 years old, so I would tell them they're 2 years old. They're probably not going to lay a ton, but people up there loved them for like tick control and just some extra eggs. $10 a piece all day long. I could sell them no problem. I would hatch my own chicks and replace them, and then my new chicks would go in the spring. And so I was not paying for chicks. I was getting 2 years of eggs out of them for the cost of the feed, and then I was cashing them back in for $10 a piece when they were 2 years old. So that was my cycle with layers at the end. And then I also sold everything from hatching eggs, like I said, the black copper Morans. We did some other purebreds to a barnyard mix. Like the black copper Moran eggs we were selling for $35 a dozen.
Holy
so crap. $35 a dozen for the first week until fertility went down. And then $6 a dozen, I think, was what our last price on, because we did organic, no soy, no corn feed. Like we were high end fucking shit, man. Like if I was going to do the work to make my food, I was going to make the best fucking food I could for myself And then if somebody wanted to buy it, they were going to have to pay for it just because. But I was doing it for me, and I was just trying to sell the supplement it.
Right.
So these eggs were pretty quality. I think $6 a dozen. So we did $35 a dozen on the black hoppers for the first week, and then $6 a dozen if they didn't sell for hatching eggs, and sold them for eating eggs. And then if they didn't sell for that, we give them, like, we could sell them into the raw dog food market or put them into our compost or feed them to our dogs. So that was like our egg cycle at the end.
That's nuts.
If we didn't hatch them ourselves and then sell chicks, because we sold chicks all the way up through laying. So like we would sell them at day old, month old, and then like 10-week old, and then right before they're supposed to lay at like 20 weeks old, at different prices depending on how much feed we put into them. I sold a shitload into the raw dog food market. So I would offer, I had some cat customers, but some of the dog customers, some of the cat customers would want like X amount size of chicken. So you figure that's like a 6-week-old chicken. And then I would just price it out, and they wanted like raw, they wanted a whole prey model. So all I had to do was like gas it. I made like a little gas chamber for my quail and my chickens to kill them. So it still looked, so you didn't have to like cut its head off, because then it's not like real. What's that?
I said, that makes sense.
You know, it just still looks alive. The quail people, that was the biggest thing, because the quail people, I sold to a lot of reptile owners. Yeah. So the snakes wanted needed to look alive. So I couldn't cut its head off. I couldn't really slit its throat. I could break its neck, but then it's all floppy. So I just made a CO container out of a butcher box freezer thing, and then I put a hose in it, and I'd throw the birds in and hit the gas, and you'd hear them flop for a minute, and then they were just done, and they were like pristine, and then they'd go into a baggie and into the freezer.
Straight to the gas chamber.
I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, it is fucked up. Like, you should have heard the conversation when I went to Air Gas.
I get it.
I went to Air Gas to buy the CO. I'm talking to the parts guy, and I'm like, hey, so I'm getting this CO container. He's like, oh, you're using it for a kegerator you're building? I'm like, nah, not quite. I need to regulate this down so it doesn't blow the lid off a styrofoam cooler. He's like, what? I was like, you know, like the butcher box coolers, and it's got the lid, the seats in it. I was like, I need it so I can regulate the pressure. I need a regulator that can go from tank pressure down to just enough to fill that. And I had made the calculations of like what the CFM is that I needed. And I was telling him, and he's like, what the hell are you doing with this thing? And I'm like, well, I'm killing baby quail.
Yeah.
He's like, what? I said, well, you put the hose in, but I don't want to like blow out their eardrums and shit. I want to do it humanely. I just want to put them to sleep. So it needs to go slowly and dissipate the oxygen out without like hurting the birds. And he's like, you're a sick fuck. But I mean, I appreciate that you don't want to hurt them.
That is so great. That is the best part about living like this. Is just like, you could have very easily went, yes, I am building a kegerator. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there's such a joy of having to explain to someone what you're actually doing with a product that it's not used for, because they look at you like, what did you just say?
Dude, and I do a lot of that shit. I build a lot of stuff. Like I was talking about the automation. I built a lot of auto waters and different things to try to combat the Minnesota winter, and try to keep like a bulk water going in the winter. I made it down to -11.
Jesus,
I couldn't beat -11. I had a whole setup that it had a recirculating pump through auto water cups back into a 55-gallon drum with a stock heater in it, and then pipe insulation. And I had it. I thought I nailed it. I fucking nailed it. Watched the temperature go down, and then all of a sudden it was overnight -11 and didn't get above 0 for the day. And I came home from work at like 2 p.m, and all the fucking water nipples had busted up, and I was like, motherfucker. Negative 11. I made it to negative 11. The guy that I bought the nipple setup from, it was like a specialty low pressure one that I bought to move it real slow, and so it would heat the metal up. And so I was talking to the guy when I was ordering it, and I said, "This is what I'm doing." He's like, "Dude, if you are able to do that, you need to patent that thing, because I've been trying to figure out how to do that for 40 years."
Oh.
And I made it to negative 11. I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
Like,
you made it to negative 11. Like, you have to hold yourself 11. A little bit higher than that. Like, holy shit. Because I was the same way. I was like, we did the nipples, and I was like, I loved like trying to figure out ways to keep everything defrosted and thawed out and everything. And
it was
90%
a project.
of the time they don't work.
And
then all of a sudden you're like, it works.
And the worst part is it sucks because it blows out and it fails. It's negative fucking 11. Right. It's not like it broke and it was 40 and sunny. It was negative 11 that I had to try to fix this and figure out how to get my chickens water, because the whole thing, like, it blew water. I had like ice rink in the chicken coop because the heated water kept flowing when the pipe broke, and it pushed all the hot water into the pine chips, and it froze into a block. It was great.
Well, that's why I always joke, like, I use the barrel waters for the pigs, and I've got hoses run out everywhere. So literally all I have to do is just like hook a quick connect to the frost free in the barn and just walk away. Like, I'll be back.
We could,
but it's because I live in New Hampshire, and it's our hoses just break constantly. So I just have a pile of waste hoses that, instead of going out and buying a hose, I just cut out the part that's broken. And
dude, you need to get some of those Gilmore rubber hoses and fucking stop doing that shit. Those don't blow out. They're rubber. They're heavy duty.
No, those ones are awesome. I do have those. I do have those for sure. But also, like, I didn't have a frost free over at the shop until
we didn't have. So here's what our farm. So we bought an old farm when we bought it. It was a farm that had been a farm before and then not a farm for quite a while. So we had one outlet on the far side of our house, or one faucet, one spigot that ran off of our house well. And it was on the far side of the house, away from all the animals, the garden, the barns, everything was on the far side. So every time we had to run a hose, we had to run it all the way around the house and then all the way to wherever we wanted. I had like 300, 400 feet of hose, and I'm running it off my well for my house well. We never burned out a well pump in the whole time we lived. 7 years we lived there, running fucking water like that. Gallons and gallons. We ran hydroponic systems and shit.
Oh, like, my God.
The amount of water that we ran through this well pump, I cannot believe it didn't blow up. Like, I had nightmares of the thing blowing up.
Oh, of course. That's all.
And so then we also had an outside well, an old school pump well.
Yeah.
That the previous owner had rigged up to an electric motor, and we had an outlet in our driveway. And this was closer to the barns. It's what they used for the animals originally. And you could plug it into the outlet and it would pump water. So that got us a little closer, but we couldn't use it in the winter. It would just freeze solid. Right. So we had to, in the winter when we did chores, we filled 5-gallon buckets in our fucking bathtub.
Yep.
Because we didn't have a sink in the basement. We didn't have water in the basement. We had the kitchen sink and the bathtub and the bathroom sink and the outside faucet. And so we filled 5-gallon buckets in a fucking bathtub. And when we had our rabbits, we filled them all in the kitchen sink, all the rabbit water bottles for like 100 rabbits.
Yeah. That is
3 times a day we changed water for rabbits in the winter, because the thing would literally freeze. The ball would freeze in the thing before you gave it to the rabbits. Like before you could walk down the hill with it and pick it up and give it to the rabbits, you had to thaw it out and stick it in there, and then they would start drinking. And as soon as they stopped drinking, it would freeze again.
Yeah, that sucks. I'm so glad we don't get that cold. Like, because we get cold up here, but we don't have
It was
like the minus
stupid.
30.
It's why I lost my shit and we moved.
Yeah, no, of course. Absolutely. That's what you do in that situation. If you're ever living in a place that's minus 30, leave. Like,
I mean, I did all this stuff. We built all this stuff, and like we're just talking animals today. Like I said, we did a hydroponic microgreen business that we went to farmers markets. We had a huge garden. I've had a huge comfrey business, and man, 5-6 years into it, we just said, "Fuck this! We're not doing it in Minnesota." That was a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort. That we just said it was. That's how much we didn't want to be there. Was we were willing to say, nope, start over. We will start over instead of staying there.
Yeah, that's a lot. Because it's like, I know how much goes into all this, and I'm not doing a quarter of what you're doing.
Like, well, we went up and down. Like, you know,
there's ebbs and flows.
The meat, well, like we would try one thing. Like I guess our layers stayed pretty consistent high the whole time. But like the rabbits, we ramped them up, and then we decided we didn't want to do them anymore because of the Minnesota winter. Was really why we stopped doing them. It was so hard to breed them all. You couldn't do culls in the winter. We did like I when we did rabbits and we had litters to cull in the winter, I did them over the kitchen sink.
Yeah,
like we had cabinets over the kitchen sink. And I strung paracord and hung rabbits and gutted them and processed them in the fucking kitchen over the kitchen sink because it was so cold out that I couldn't feel my hands to do it outside. Because you have...
No, he's frozen for a second, but it's like, I feel that pain. It gets cold. And like doing anything like farm related in the cold is just, it makes everything 10 times worse. Now, there he is. He's back.
I mean, the rubber gloves would get hard on you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I do mostly large animals like in the wintertime, thankfully. Yeah. So they have some body heat. But it's like I've butchered some cows when it's like 10 degrees. That gets so sucky. And everything's just an ice skating rink because all of a sudden the blood's hitting the ground. The blood's freezing. So now you're walking around a dead cow with knives. Like, it's a shit show. Yeah, the cold makes everything harder.
That was the other part of how hard it was being there. Was I had a job that I worked outside all day, every day, year round. Yeah. So I dealt with the 100 and the 75% humidity days, as well as the negative 30 with 40-mile-an-hour wind days. And had an on-call schedule where I was going out at 2 a.m. in the middle of fucking winter and working in a parking lot at 2 a.m. in the dark in the middle of fucking January, and it sucked. So it really made you bitter towards being in the cold, and so we just said no more. But anyway, I'm here to talk about what I did. Layers. We hit it already. I did the eggs, everywhere from eating eggs to hatching eggs. We sold the culls, both dead and alive, at 2 years. We used them for compost. We used the chickens themselves when we called them, and then the manure and the bedding for compost. And so those were kind of our chickens, our layers. Pastured meat. We did chickens and turkeys in John Siskovich style chicken tractors, like the pointed ones, triangle ones. Right. We really liked them. I converted both of them to do turkeys. I put a roost in the back and changed up the water, did a bigger water on the side. I didn't use the same water as John used. I changed up a bunch of his stuff. I put an auto water on the back with like a 5-gallon bucket instead of using the 1-gallon hanger on the inside, and did an auto feed drip cup system. Right. And so that allowed me to just fill the water from the outside, because I'm 6'4", 6'5" ish, and getting inside those fucking tractors and working sucked. So I figured out how to do the water from the outside, and then all I had to do was do a scoop of food down the middle in the center feeder that he does in his book, which is phenomenal. That feeder, I ended up using it with all my layers and all my pastured chickens and turkeys. So that feeder is great. It's a piece of, I think, 4-inch PVC, and you cut a section out of the top, so it's still a C, or it's a U with a curved top, so it curls over, so they can't pull the feed out.
Right, they have to actually put their head in and then pull it out.
Yeah, and then you put like 2x4 plugs in the ends.
Yeah,
or you can use caps, just the cap still, and glue the cap on, and then use eye bolts and string and string them.
That's genius.
Fucking great.
See, we don't have poultry at the moment, and it's really a battle back and forth of whether or not I'm going to. It kills me every time I think about it. And if I do, I've already decided. It's like I need to figure out an automatic watering system because I'm not getting in there, and I just need to build better tractors because it's like I said, we raise meat birds at first, and I've really moved away from them to mostly doing, if I do raise poultry for meat, it's going to be turkeys. That's just more bang for your buck.
We really like the turkeys. They took too long for us. That was the pivotal bird. That was the pivotal fucking animal that got us to leave Minnesota, was having 10 almost fully grown turkeys in a tractor that was meant, like, when I did my tractors, I figured out how many full-grown birds I could squeeze in that humanely, because I moved them twice a day at that point. So it wasn't like they were contained. They still had room, but it needed to be moved twice a day for my calculations.
Exactly.
And we got 13 or 18 inches of fucking snow on an October day, and I had turkeys in the field in the tractor. I couldn't move it for 2 days. And so I was bringing bedding out, throwing it in there. Like, I couldn't even raise turkeys to the same month that Thanksgiving was in, and I was charging $100 for them because they were like pastured birds on pasture from 4th of July till Thanksgiving, you know?
No, exactly. Like, it's worth the price point, but it's...
Well, yeah, but I wanted to do it fresh for them. Like, I offered people, if they wanted me to slit its throat and gut it and bring it to them on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving,
right?
You know, you're buying. Well, and I would tell them, I said, you know, this bird's going to be 20 pounds at the end of October. It's going to be, 28, 20, 32 pounds by Thanksgiving. If you want a bird that big, I'll do it for you, but it's also per pound.
Yeah. No, that's,
and it was a lot per pound. It was like $6 a pound. I mean, it was, so,
well, it's if you do the work, like, get the money for it. If you're putting all the time and energy into something to where it's like you said, no corn, no soy, organic, like pasture raised.
Oh, my feed, dude, my feed. So we decided we were going to leave Minnesota, but we had a project. We had to do the camper. So we were going to be farming for one more full year while we did this project. And so we ordered turkeys. I pre-sold them. Like, I had enough customers. All my turkeys were pre-sold. We were going to do another dozen the last year. I bought custom made feed because I couldn't find the feed anywhere that I wanted. So my feed mill made me the feed for the whole season. Well, it was the first half, I think I had bought. I picked up the feed 2 weeks before the turkeys were supposed to ship. And the week before, it was like 2 or 3 days after I picked up the feed, I got an email that said your turkey order was canceled. We had a bad hatch.
Oh, that is awful.
They were all pre-sold. I had all the food. I called the hatchery. That'll remain nameless, but I had gotten a fucking quarters cross from them the batch earlier. I'd used them great for 4 years, no problems whatsoever. The batch of meat chickens I got before the turkeys got canceled, one had 3 fucking legs. It had a leg growing out of its chest.
All right. That's fun.
And I was like, okay, that's weird. And they didn't give me enough chickens. So I had to go through the hassle of like, give me a refund, blah, blah, blah. But I had standing orders every like 2 months with them.
Right.
And so then they canceled the chicken order, and I absolutely lost my shit on this dude on the phone. And he's like, well, what do you want? I was like, I want you to cancel all my fucking bird orders that I have in for you for the rest of the fucking year. I don't want you to charge me any cancellation fees. I don't want all of it fucking refunded. and you're a cocksucker. He's like, thank you, I'll take care of that.
Oh, no,
Just
that's
so mad.
so shitty.
Just so mad. And then I had to call all my customers and say, hey, I know you wanted that turkey, and I know it's fucking July, but you're gonna have to find another turkey. Sorry.
Right. No, and that's the hardest part too, because it's like you can't turn
At least
around and be
it
like,
was
listen,
July,
I can't do anything about it, but they're still your customers. It's like, I feel awful this happened, but
at least it was July, and I knew I was going to be done. Like, I knew we weren't doing it anymore, so it wasn't like I was losing potential sales. I was just like, hey, here's a guy I know that does them. He might be sold out, he might not. And
so did you resell the feed?
No, I used it for chickens. I mixed it in with my chicken feed because we were just done. Like, I tried to sell it. Everybody that I knew that did any birds of that caliber got their feed from the same guy, and they ordered it by the batch too. So it was all pre-made. They all had theirs ordered for the year. So yeah, I had to eat it and just fucking mixed it in. Like this was like 28%. They used peas. They used peas and other shit. No soy, no corn. All beefed up. 24. I think it was 24, and then we supplemented with organic hard-boiled eggs. So we made our turkeys. When we went to feed them, we had 10 turkeys. We'd make like a dozen hard-boiled eggs and put them in with their feed. And was it a dozen? I don't know. She's got her headphones on. I can't remember. She did the egg thing. She loved the turkeys. They were her thing. But yeah, that's how we supplemented our feed, because we couldn't get 28 without adding soy.
Right.
So we just did hard-boiled eggs because we had so many fucking eggs. And quail eggs. We fed them quail eggs and whatever we had.
Yeah, anything you can.
So the pasture birds we sold for human food, and then more. I sold more poultry and rabbits into the raw pet food market than any human consumption food that I sold combined. Like each one of those separately, I sold more into the pet food than I did all of the human grade combined. It was an easy market to go into. There's not enough suppliers. It's easier because there's no regulations. And once you make your customers, they will keep coming back to you, and they will send other people to you with the understanding that they get first choice.
No, that's a market I need to figure out, because I've had some people approach me about it, and I'm so busy with everything else. It's like, to think about opening up another avenue right away, I'm like, all right. But you're absolutely right. It's
the things we sold into the raw pet food though were like out of the pastured birds were when we process them ourselves, which we preferred to do, and that's really why we went to the raw food market. Was we would sell feet, we would sell heads, we would sell hearts, livers, like pretty much everything.
All of it, yeah.
For the pasture birds, everything except the bird itself. And then if they wanted to buy that quality of a chicken for their dog that was raised to 8 weeks on that food on pasture, like I sold every dog food that I sold to people was human grade. It just might not have been processed far enough for a human to eat. Like, I did a whole lot of whole prey. So you're not going to want to thaw out a fucking chicken that still has its guts and then gut it and then eat it. So,
yeah. No, you don't want to play that game.
But yeah, so any waste, really, I looked at it and said, okay, can I sell it? Will something eat it? Can I freeze it and price it and sell it? Because I had 7 deep freezers at my place. Like big ones. Like, what is it? Like 29 square foot freezers?
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, that's like you and me have been having the conversations about like the biochar thing, where I'm talking about like trying to figure out a way to make biochar out of my bone waste out of the shop,
right?
And then take that and put that on my pastures. Like, that's full circle shit, and it's stuff right now that I'm just getting rid of. Like,
well,
Another avenue of that I've looked at is taking all of the scraps, like the stuff that's not hard bone, and taking it all, putting it in little cubes like this, freezing it, and then whenever I do poultry again, like taking on the bandsaw after it's frozen, after I'm done working for the day, cut it into chunks like that are about this big by this big, cryovac them, toss them in the freezer, and just add that to poultry feed. It's pure protein. It's just meat and fat. And I have an abundance of it because of what I do for a living. So it's like, if I can take that, that's again just waste, and get like a higher protein feed for my animals, why not?
Well, here you go. Here you go. So our rabbits. So that was kind of like our chickens and our turkeys that we did. Rabbits were something that we did a lot of. At one point, we had, I think, 20 or more does and 5 bucks. So when we were full of litters, which we turned to, I mean, like I pushed the does really hard between February and November.
That's the time to do it.
Well, actually, it was September. And then I gave them the winter off because it was just too hard to keep the litters warm in Minnesota. Like when if they had a litter in December, more than likely the majority of them are going to freeze. I don't care how much fur she pulled and all that. Like they don't want to breed when it's that cold. It's a pain in the ass. So we forced them to breed in February, and then they would kindle in March, and then it was borderline whether it was going to be warm enough. If we lost that litter, it was on us. If we got it, we got an extra cycle out of the year. So if we were full up, we'd have over 100 rabbits in the barn, and it was just stupid a lot. But
it's a lot.
Here's how we broke down a rabbit. The normal way is human grade consumption. You cull it, you skin it, you gut it, and there you go. You got a carcass, and you sell it that way. We did those. We couldn't sell broken down even from the farm, just for reasons, but we did that for ourselves.
Right.
But so we did human grade. From a human grade rabbit, we also got a head that we threw in a bag and froze for dog food. We had all the organs. We also would do the feet. We would do the back feet and process those into keychains. We would do the front feet. We would cure them. We made both specialty mini keychains that we would do sometimes if we got some really cool colored feet, or we would just cure them and leave the hardware off and sell them as cat toys, and they sold great. Like, cats loved them. Actually, half the cats loved them and half the cats hated them, like didn't want anything to do with them. So like we had friends that had multiple cats, and we would take them over. One cat absolutely loved them, couldn't wait to get more, and the other one didn't want jack shit to do with any of them. So it was hit or miss. But did you
guys like sleep? Was there any sleeping involved in any of this?
Not really.
Okay.
So we did those, and so that was like the human, and then obviously the manure,
right?
And so that was like a human grade call is what we would get out of it. So the keychains we sold for $5 a piece. I think we would have less than $1 into them. So that's like what, $9 in profit on the back feet. The front feet were 3 for $5. So like $4 there. You got $13. We sold our rabbits for 20 when we first started, and then 25 for a human call. Heads were a quarter. Livers were 50 cents. So it adds up to like $40 out of I think it was $40 is what we were getting per rabbit for a human consumption one. But then we sold the raw food, and I pushed my rabbit customers in the raw food to go whole prey. And basically I made my own hopper popper out of a piece of angle iron, a piece of rebar, and a welder. It's fucking easy.
Yeah.
And so basically I would cervical dislocate, and then let it stop having its throws, and I would take it and I would wrap it in butcher paper and throw it in the freezer. Weigh it, throw it in the freezer, write the weight on it. And that's what my customers bought. And I would do them everywhere from kits kits, obviously, I wasn't using the hopper popper. They had to get big enough. You could just like with your hopper pop your thumb. But any weight from kits to full grown, and I would overgrow them if I had one customer that really liked big rabbits, liked them. And so if I had like a litter that I missed,
was it Carol Baskin?
No. If I had a litter that like I had a call date and I missed it and I do another shit or whatever, and then they got too big, I always had an outlet for like a 6, 7, 8 pound.
That's always nice to have that one guy
send that message.
That one
like,
person,
dude, I got some
doesn't
big
matter
ones.
what you're doing. That one person, you can take your kind of fuck ups and go, hey.
So that's the rabbit. It was all raw food. We were breeding. We were doing a breeding program to get some really cool pelts. We had all sorts of rabbits that we messed around with, but we were doing some experiments with some Rex and some Flemish Giants. And I don't know if you go back to like high school biology, but doing gene crosses.
I love looking at all that, trying to figure it out.
Yeah, recessive genes. Well, the Rex plush fur is a recessive gene. So when you're breeding it into something that doesn't have any, you're like 4 generations in before you could possibly get that fur again. And so we were growing the body size, and the meat to bone ratio was coming down from the Rex because they're smaller. And the plush fur was going to be the next breed after we kind of shut things down. It was going to be like one more, but we were getting some really weird side of like weird mutations that it probably wouldn't have gone too well if we kept going with it. Maybe like we were doing selective culling, obviously, but I think it could have went a little sideways if we went another round, because we were going to have to breed back to dad again to get that recessive gene.
And that's where it gets weird.
So rabbits are supposed to be able to do like 15 deep, I think 15 generations.
Yeah,
deep.
no, I've read that too.
But
it's nuts.
It was just, I think it was the huge difference in breeds is what was causing some weird shit, like some health issues. It wasn't like weird deformities or anything like that. It was like health stuff. They just weren't very, very strong rabbits. So.
Yeah, and that sucks.
So anyway, those were rabbits. The other big one we did was quail. I think at any one time I had like anywhere from 100 to 500 quail in my garage, in my 25 by 25 garage. And a whole like three level brooder incubator setup that was like you could run them through stages. And so I sold fucking so many quail eggs. I sold so many whole call quail into the reptile market because they're a smaller bird. It was craziness. I sold quail eggs. I sold enough quail eggs and baby quail in my area that my customers put me out of business. Well, not if I really wanted to stay in business, but it was like at the time we started shutting everything down, my customers were selling almost as much as I was. Yeah. Like the listings, what they were listing, like they followed my model. I told every single customer that I had, I was willing to tell them how to do it. And I'm willing to tell anybody how to do it. Fucking do it better than me. If you're my neighbor and you do better than me, you should make the fucking money. It's not my game. Like, go for it.
Yeah, I'm the same way with the shop. Like I've talked about running some classes and stuff like that for processing deer and everything. And they're like, oh, no one's going to come to you. I'm like, they will. I promise. But it's one of those things where it's like, everyone should know how to do this. Like you said, it's not my show. I just do it. Like, I just do it and charge for it. I promise you, unless you're like all of a sudden a savant out of nowhere, like in my case, that can like just pick up meat processing like that, like I'm still going to get the customers, even if you go and open a deer shop down the road. Like,
right.
It's going to be fine. Like
that's my philosophy with the comfrey that I'm selling right now. I still sell comfrey now that I'm on the road. I just set my network up before I left of people that are growing it for me. But now we're selling the business in a box, like the get started. Here you go, kick in the ass, and it comes with business like help. Like here, from the day you get it, I will help you plant it. I will help you find out how to sell it, and here are the 7 different things you can sell with it, or made from it, or because of it, and I'll walk you through it. I'm still selling it. I'm not worried you're going to take all the customers.
Yeah,
I've been selling it for 5-6 years now. I ain't run out of customers yet, and my customers are selling it. I know my customers are selling it because I talk to them.
For sure. Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of people in the world, and there's a lot of people in the U.S. And so, yeah. So the quail, we sold it the same pretty much as the rabbits. Human grade pet food, all sorts of pet food, just like the rabbits and the chickens.
So
any
good.
size, any weight. I was figuring out logistics on shipping frozen quail, and I wanted to. If we stayed in Minnesota, I was going to challenge. I was going to try to challenge one of the bigger reptile food wholesalers.
Yep.
Online, and try to ship whole call quail and rabbits.
There's a guy in Florida I follow who's doing that right now. Like he's
that was I based all my pricing off their pricing model, and I undercut them locally. And I said that in my ads. I said, if you're ordering from these people, I will give you a better product at a lower price, and you can pick it up at my farm, or I will charge for delivery, because that's where people were getting them. Like I asked in the groups. And here's the big tip for your raw dog food. Get in the raw dog food groups for the people that are looking for it. Like, act as a customer of the product you want to sell to. Find groups, find organizations that are doing it as customers. Education, raw dog food groups on Facebook, on wherever, on the internet. Act as a customer and figure out what the customers are looking for and what the customers are asking for. Look at the ads on Craigslist in your area and see who's selling what and why they suck and how you can be better and how you can offer better. Talk to the people in the groups. Go into reptile groups and say, where are you guys getting your whole prey? If you guys are whole prey feeders, where are you getting yours? And then when they're like XYZ website, go to their website and put a bunch of shit in the cart and hit ship and watch the $80 fucking shipping charge tack on.
Oh yeah.
And then do the math and go, I can do it and make a profit for $100 less than that order cost. I'm only going to charge $50 less than that order cost. They're going to save $50 and I'm going to make an extra $50 more than where my profit is. And those are your customers. If you can get 3 guys to say, I buy XYZ from this website and it costs me this much because you know that they ship, offer them, save $20.
Right. It's still $20. Like,
they can't say no.
No.
I mean, maybe they can.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're putting out janky shit, yeah, they can say no. But like, if you're doing all good quality stuff and you've done the math and you say, hey, I'll save you $20 off this, they're gonna be like, yeah, of course.
I was getting, so if I did that, if I got into the quail and the rabbits, my next animal I was gonna do, like everybody gets bigger, I was gonna do rats.
I was gonna say you were going to rats.
I was gonna do rats, and I was also gonna do mealworms. Those were the next 2 that I was planning out. I had cutlass and things to build rat cages and the supply list to get going in mealworms. And those are my next 2 adventures. So
see, I went the other way. Like how you just said, where it's like most people go bigger. I have 2 rabbits that are essentially just obese pets at this point. I have no poultry. And I'm actually at the lowest animal load I've been at for like a couple years, and it's kind of nice. So now we're down to
dude, when we decided to shut down, when we decided to shut down, it was like a huge sigh of relief as we were culling animals. Like when we decided to shut down the rabbits, and we knew we were leaving at this point. Like we had already decided, okay, we're done. But it was systematic. We like wanted to get the most out of it, so we did the last cull. We sold the chickens. We didn't cull them. And then we let the coyotes pick off the free rangers and they all ended up gone before we left. But we sold off our stock. Like I sold off all my quail equipment. And we got rid of everything and got as much back out of it as we could. But it was interesting. It was a sigh of relief as you would get less busy.
Oh, for
sure. It was
sure.
great. I loved it. It every minute of it doing it. But the minute that I didn't have farm chores anymore, I was like, weird.
Well, there is a moment where it's like, I agree. Like, I love doing it. I love going out and feeding everybody, seeing everybody, and doing whatever. But it's like, if you're ever on vacation or something, or like doing whatever, and you
didn't
just have
do that
moment,
for 6 years. We
didn't
you
just have that moment where it's like, all right, I gotta go. Like you just have the muscle memory of chore time, where you're just like, all right, and you're like, oh,
we went on separate vacations for 6 years because we couldn't leave the farm alone. Somebody had to be there to know what to do.
My in-laws and my wife took my oldest to Disney last year, and I stayed home.
Yep.
Because I had to.
Those were the live animals. Those are all the live. We did well. I shouldn't say that. The hatchery we kind of ran. Those were animals.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
They were animals eventually.
Exactly.
But we had like one of the sportsman incubators, the 1532s or whatever, cabinet incubators. And that thing ran for 19 months straight, I think, full.
Yeah. That's
between chicken eggs and quail eggs, 19 months it was full. Didn't shut off one day in that whole period. I was hatching so many quail eggs a week that I couldn't fit them all in the hatching tray in the bottom. So I was making hatching boxes out of the same things I made the gas chamber out of. I was buying temp controllers and thermostats and all sorts of fun shit and wiring up my own hatching boxes with like lights and temperature monitoring and humidikits like that would blow humidity in and activate on and off at different humidity levels. And I was like going all the way. I was like putting glass viewing windows in the top so I could see how many quail were hatching. And so I was making these things and I think I ended up with 2 or 3 of them. And so those were how I was able to keep up with all the hatching birds because you couldn't. It was just impossible. It was so many eggs.
I hear that. Like, I hear that, and I'm like, that makes me excited. I'm like, that sounds like an awesome build. But also in the back of my head, I'm like, that's the shit that pisses my wife off because I'm off doing something. Like, I'm sitting there like MacGyver putting shit together, and I'm like, I go, look at this that I made. She's like, you've been gone for 10 hours. What were you doing? Like,
once you've experienced scheduling that many eggs, that many hatching eggs, and all the rotations, because I was doing chickens and quail, and then at one point we did guineas and tried some turkeys and all that, all through the same incubator, and hatching schedules, and these ones are getting put on lockdown, so you would have to like move them onto a shelf that wasn't turning.
Right,
dude. It was. I messed up once. One time out of the 19 months, I moved the wrong tray into the hatching box, and I had hatching quail popping out on a moving tray. Like I heard them like every day, it was constant in our house. Was like we ran the totes inside too. Like we did all our brooding in the big water troughs.
Yep.
And we did it in one of the rooms in it, like in our living room, next to our living room. So our house was constant. Beep, 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 beep. Drove the dogs fucking nuts. There was in the incubator, was in the same room. same room as all the hydroponics. It was like in our other living room. We had two living rooms. And so it was not unusual to hear peeping and hatching quail. And they're loud. There's loud. And so you hear peep, 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 peep. And every once in a while, I'd go over and check the water in the humidifier thing. And I shine my flashlight in it. And I see this quail like surfing on the thing. As the thing, it was actually moving, doing the moving cycle. And this baby quail is just like chilling on this thing. And I look in and there's like quail smashed in between and some had made it into the bottom. And I was like, oh, fuck, I moved the wrong tray.
It
was part of it. It was part of it. Yeah.
No, I remember the first time I brought home quail because I would run like 30 at a time. Like I built like this giant rabbit hutch that was like on the bottom. It was double decker. So on the bottom, I raised meat birds in it. So I've said this on a couple other shows. Literally, when I moved in with my wife, we were on a third of an acre in the southern part of the state. We bought one of those prefab like sheds. So the area I had for all the birds, like so the dogs couldn't get in there, was 16 by 20. Like that's all I had. So we had a coop in part of the shed. We had an outdoor run, and then I had 3 hutches, this massive monster hutch that I raised meat birds in on the bottom and quail in on the top. But that was like later on. When I first did it, I had in the coop, I had laying hens, two Narragansett turkeys. I probably had 15 chickens, 2 turkeys. And then I had this like just cage wired in to like screwed into the roof. And I was like, I want to get quail. This is going to be awesome. So get them all set up. I'm like, perfect. This is great. I'm excited. I have quail. Like met this person in the Best Buy parking lot, like off of Facebook to pick them up. I'm like, cool. This is great. So I go inside after getting everybody all set up. I come back out a little bit later because I want to check on everybody. And the turkeys had pulled the quail through the cage fencing. And I'm like, oh, well.
They look like little popcorn treats.
I had quail for a total of 4 hours.
How old were the quail you bought?
Oh, they were tiny. Like 2 days old, maybe. Like, and then I looked and I'm like, they're just walking through the cage. Like, that's what they're doing. They're not even getting pulled out. I was standing there looking at them, and all of a sudden the thing just charges me and goes right through, and I caught it like this. I'm like, Did
you ever raise them to adults?
Oh yeah, no, all the time. Did you have the Coturnics?
Yes. And did they like pick each other's skulls apart and all sorts of fun shit like that?
Of course they did.
Yeah, those were great.
Super fun.
The look on people's face, the raw feeders, like they would come and get it. I was like, hey, so a couple of these in this batch have missing fur or missing feathers on the top of their head. They're like, what do you mean? And so I'd go grab one and I'd bring it out. It was like, you could see, it wasn't missing feathers. It was like missing feathers and skull. And you could see the brain. And they're like, oh my God, did you find it dead? I was like, no, it was perfectly alive.
Yeah. No. Isn't it the males doing that to the females? Isn't that what that one is? Yeah.
Yeah. They break open their heads. And the females are fine. Like they survive it. Those birds were the toughest.
Why do we do this?
They were the meanest, toughest birds. Besides the turkeys were tougher and shit as long as they got to 6 weeks old.
I was going to say, as soon as they get to 6 weeks, they're bulletproof. But that first 6 weeks, it's like you're trying to negotiate someone to take a gun away from their head. It's like, what are you doing? Stop.
The first year when we made it through, we ordered 2 extra turkeys. And because we wanted to do 10. And so we ordered 12. And everybody's like, because you're going to lose some. Like, you will lose some, especially the first time you're doing it. We made it through with 12 fucking turkeys. Damn it. Not one. But we also were like, we watched those fuckers.
Oh, like a hawk. Were they broad-breasteds?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had some last year. What did I buy? I bought 10 broad-breasteds and 4 bronze, I think, because I was like, I'm just gonna get them. I ended up with the 4 bronze and 1 broad-breasted. They all died within like a week. Like
Yeah.
I would go out every day. I'm giving electrolytes. I'm doing everything I possibly can, and I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, what the fuck?
So yeah. So I mean, when we do it again, and we will at some point, we'll stop and we'll have animals. It's inevitable.
Yeah, it's a
Our
bug.
kind of ideal is going to be all the things that we did plus some more. I mean, we hope to do have a pig or a couple,
Yeah,
but we're never going to do the volume that we did, and we're never going to keep things separate.
no,
We're going to go to more of a uh, intertwined system of smaller batches, like a trio of turkeys, and then raise whatever they happen to produce a year. A three rabbits, and just what we need to eat is kept on hoof, because we hope to not have to have a lot of energy consumption and things like that. So, enough chickens and a goose and a duck and just a few of each, all kind of
just have
living
a nice
together.
farm. Like, don't worry about it. Like, have it to
Well,
where it's
yeah,
like you're still
we
making
have
money a
no
little bit,
interest.
but
We have no interest in making money off it again.
yeah,
It's more for personal consumption and the uses that we get out of it. If we have a couple extra because we underestimated our use or overestimated our use, then of course we'll sell it or trade it or do whatever we have to. But there's never going to be the sole intention of trying to make them enterprises again. I have better
you
and
got better
more
things to do.
lucrative things to accomplish, and we had 35 acres, and we don't want that much anymore. We don't want that again, and so things are going to be a lot more compact and controlled.
See, I've got 14, and I think that's like right around perfect. Like, I love, and I don't, and I'm still
I
a
want
full.
7 twos. How about that?
All right. Yeah. No, for you, that's perfect.
Yeah, I did. I raised turkeys. We raised turkeys on pasture a couple of years. There's a comment there. We
Sorry.
raised turkeys. Uh, yeah, on pasture.
Yeah.
A couple of years, just
That was awesome.
from July to October, November ish.
Yeah. Now, would you? Well, how many? I probably just missed it. How many would you do? Would you do a ton, or was it like 10?
We did 12 the first year, and then it ended up being 10 the second year, and we were going to do another. Actually, we had ordered. I think we were doing 2 tractors, so we were going to try to end up with 20 the last year and kind of go out with a bang, and then they canceled our order. So
Bastards. Well, we're up over an hour here. So, do you want to talk about your conferee stuff just to kind of push that out a little bit?
I mean,
or?
sure, if you want. I got so right now we're kind of one of the things we're launching. Excuse me. One of the things we're launching is we're piloting a kind of a box of comfrey. Basically, it's a farm in a box, a business in a box. I want to call it a money making machine. Basically, when we were getting ready to leave the farm, we were doing kind of our own style Kickstarter. We were trying to cash in one last time on our comfrey route, and it didn't go as I had hoped. And I said, okay, well, I don't have any sort of proof that this would have worked. And I was asking way too much for it at that time. But it was more of a, let's see if it'll happen. So I sent the same amount to my current supplier that fulfills my root orders for me. And that's why he's fulfilling my root orders for me, is because I sent him the business in a box. Canadian Farmstead's wondering if it's Bocking 14 or Boxing 4. It's Bocking 4 that we're selling. But I sent that business in a box to him. I said, I want you to plant this. He's doing it on an urban lot, and I did it on a 35-acre farm. So this is the two polar opposite scenarios. To date, he's sold one of the 7 products I would get out of my Comfrey. So when I was running my Comfrey business in person, I was getting 7 different product revenue streams out of it. This guy is using one of those, and he is over $1,000 in gross sales for the year. And he's had it just about a year, just coming up on a year. Now, he lives in a temperate climate where he couldn't sell all year round, but he was able to nurse them through the winter and not really have a downtime. So these results will vary depending on what climate you're at. But he's up over $1,000 of sales in the first year. Right now, we estimate that we could sell 10 of these boxes. And so we're going to kind of do that right now at around, I think we're going to list them out at $299 for the box. And then throughout the rest of the fall, we're going to be putting together like digital material and how to do all of this. With the ones we're selling, the 10 that we're going to sell this fall, that's going to come with personal interaction. Like, I'll give you my phone number and tell you how to do the shit in person. Over the course of the fall, we hope to use these people that are doing these 10, get feedback from them, put together courses on how to do it. And then in the spring, it's going to be full blast, full steam ahead. And we're going to sell the course. We're going to sell the course plus Comfrey, and the price is going to go up. So people are interested in getting in now and getting that before the price increase and getting the one-on-one contact instead of just getting the course and everything along with it. They can email me or go to my website and check it out. Website is right there if you're watching the video, or if you're on the audio, it's The Lots Project. That's LOTS project.com. And just email me, tell me you're interested in a business in a box, and I'll walk you through it, and we'll talk about it and see if it's right for you. I don't want to sell it to anybody that's not ready to do it and is not sure about it. So I'll walk you through it. I'll talk about it. The other thing I kind of got going on is at the website. If you're at that website, on the landing page, there's a little fill out box. You can put your email address in there, check a few boxes of what you're interested in. And I want to talk to people. I just want to converse with them. If you're interested in doing anything that I mentioned on the show, some other things that I've helped people with is getting started in cryptocurrency. I've helped Kyle a little bit with some content creation stuff, homesteading, pulling revenue off of unimproved land, like secondary properties or, the back 40 you don't use. I can talk to you about some ideas for that. But basically, it's a half an hour free consultation. We can just bullshit about whatever you want. See if I jive. If you jive with my personality and we get along, maybe we just have a chat about what you got going on, and we part ways, and we just had a good conversation. Or maybe there's something you're stuck on and I can help you with, and we can set up some consultation time and move forward from there. So that's just at the website. Drop it in. I'm looking to make contacts all over the country. We travel around in an RV, and I got a little black book full of everybody I talk to. And hey, I might just say, man, we're going to be in your area. Maybe I can swing by and do chores for you someday, and you can go out to dinner with your wife.
That'd be great. No, I have so many questions that I need to try and figure out how to fit into a half-hour block, because you're worth your time, but I'm still cheap. And I'm like, I got to figure out what I can fit in that half hour. Comfrey is one of those things that I'm like interested in, but I'm also like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do what needs to be done with it. I already know. Like, because I see everyone talk about it. I see it. I get it. But I'm also like,
how old are your daughters?
4 and 16 months.
4. I mean, get that farm in right now, get it growing and get it established. About the time that girl's like 7 or 8, she's got a little side hustle selling salves and roots and shit like that, my man. You could teach her how to do it at probably, I would say, if she's as smart as you, about probably like 14, she'll be ready.
Yeah.
But
Like
any
18,
normal
she'll
kid,
be-
probably like 7.
So I do have a story. Do you have anything else you want to plug, put out there?
Nah,
Go
man,
for it.
just check out the website. There's all sorts of shit there. I'm into tombstone or gravestones and cemeteries and shit like that.
The Tombstone, Old Westerns.
Yeah, old westerns and cemeteries. Just check out the site. Go poke around and feel free to
also have a
reach
great
me
morning
anywhere.
So we started with Senor. We're going to end with Senor. This is a good story, though. It ends good. So my wife had to go out this morning and do a couple things in town. So I had the girls, and when she came home, she was like, "Hey, did you talk to Leah yet about Senor?" And I'm like, "I haven't." And she goes, "All right." So we call her in, and again, both of my daughters have been on kill floors since they were 3 weeks old. Like, they've seen shit die, and a lot of it, and usually laugh. Like, like my oldest one's a nut. I love her to death, but it's slightly concerning sometimes. So we're all sitting on the kitchen floor and we're all talking. And my wife's like, "You know how last night, like when I was putting you to bed, I told you needed to be a good girl and stay in bed because we needed to go help Senor feel better." And she's like, yeah. Is he okay?" And we were like, "All right, sweetie. He didn't make it. He was a little sicker than we thought he was going to. And he fell asleep and then he died." And she ran over to the window and was like, kind of she knew where he was, like where he was at, was trying to look out. And she walks back over and she goes, "So Senor is like dead. And I'm like, "Yeah, baby, he's dead." And she just sat on my wife's lap and just cried in her shoulder. And I was like, like it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And she pulls her head away and just takes both hands, wipes her eyes, and she goes, "He was a good pig, but we're going to get another one." And then just walked away. I was like,
Atta girl.
"Oh my God, this kid's a savage." But like afterwards, me and my wife talked and we're like, she looks at me and goes, "Are you so happy she cried?" And I'm like, "I'm so happy she cried," because we were starting to get worried. Like there's been a couple moments where it's like, when she starts
bringing the roadkill back and playing with it in the yard, you might want to watch her a little closer.
Well, that's the hard part. I can't even put that as a barometer because she's seen me pick up roadkill more times than I can count. So I can't even be like, "That's weird." It's like, "Dad, you do it. I learned it from you. Dad, I learned it from you." Like, but no. Man. So that was like a nice, sweet moment, and it was one of those things. It's like we have some family members that are like, they just don't understand what we're doing. They have no idea. They just there's the mindset. The mindset.
I don't know anything about that, man. I don't know anything
exactly.
about that.
Yeah. But it's moments like that. It's moments where it's like, this was a shitty couple days. It's a shitty situation. It really just shot us in the foot for the next year of trying to figure stuff out. But literally just having that 5 to 10 minute conversation with my daughter, who's been growing up in this her entire life and now understands death on a level that most adults, I feel like, don't fully grasp yet. It's like, it's all worth it. All of this is worth it. No matter what happened, no matter what financial problem we'll deal from this, like, I don't care. We were able to sit down and have this conversation, and it's the best way to raise kids. I swear to God.
Oh yeah, and I guess it was kind of in memory of Senor, but I got a t-shirt or a hoodie up for you.
Yeah, you do.
I've been bugging him about having some merch out there, and he's like, "I don't have time. I don't know how to do it. I said, "Okay, well, screw you. I'm gonna make you some sweatshirts, and I'm gonna put them on my site, and I'll put them on my Etsy site.
I really do.
And I will. I'll cut you in on anything I sell. So the price is a little higher. The price is a little higher on the things, but we're gonna be splitting the money that go into it. But I got a few takes on Kyle's shop there, And so they'll be coming along. They will be coming along in on the site. I got one up. There'll be more coming. We'll start sharing links as soon as there's more up
it'll
there.
be good. Canadian Farmstead, little armored ones don't make it up this far north. I wish they did.
I'll tell you,
coming. They're coming.
Just an update, Kyle. You came on the first little armored one update night. The little armored one has been completely eaten out by the maggots and the vultures and everything.
So it's just
and
the
then
shell.
People started hitting the shell, and we have a lot of dump trucks that go up and down this road. Now it literally is as flat as it possibly could be, in the shape of an armadillo, like smashed to a 1/4 inch, and it's like perfectly flat pancake armadillo.
Can you please take a picture tomorrow? I can't.
I will try.
Hopefully, we've been
hopefully
talking about this for a fucking week, and we still haven't seen a picture of this dead armadillo.
I feel kind of weird walking out the road taking a picture.
Are you going to send a picture of this or what?
Dude, I feel bad going out the road taking a picture of a dead armadillo in the middle of a neighborhood. But my wife sits in the camper and watches it with binoculars.
It makes me happy to think about, like, because I don't know where you guys are set up, like how many people are around you or whatever. But it makes me laugh.
We're in like a neighborhood. There's a house across the street. There's a house next door.
Yeah, it makes me laugh to think about Corey on the binoculars looking at this armadillo, and then the neighbor across the street that you guys can't see also looking out the window at binoculars at Corey looking at the dead armadillo and just going,
okay. So I tried to get video. She's always complaining because she does social media for our dogs, and so they'll be doing something, and she'll go to take a cute video, and they'll stop doing it. Like it's infuriating to her, and she's always telling me about it, and I'm like, I don't get it. Whatever, it is what it is. Like, just do it a little faster. So I'm sitting here watching her the other day, and this was the day that the action really picked up with the vultures. Like, they really opened up the chest cavity.
And the action kicked in.
Like, they were pulling out guts by they were like disemboweling the thing. And so she's got the binoculars, and she's all engrossed in it. And she's like, oh, and like she's doing running commentary while she's watching. And so I grab my phone and I sit back, and as soon as I hit record, she shut the fuck up for like over a minute, didn't say a damn thing.
And all of a sudden you were like, wow.
She started talking again. It was nothing good. And then she was like, oh, I gotta go to a meeting, and like put the binoculars down and start working again. I'm like, I get it. I get your frustration. I get it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. Well, we're almost at an hour and a half here. So anything else you want to plug? You good? All right. Perfect. Yeah, guys, I appreciate everyone who's been in. I think we were up to 6 at one point, live viewers, which is awesome. Ooh,
I had a couple over on my side too, my man.
Oh, perfect. Hell yeah. So yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed it. We've got a bunch more content coming out on the YouTube channel. So looking forward to that. And yeah, so everyone who watched, I appreciate it. Everyone who's going to listen, I appreciate even more. And I hope everyone got a chance to